Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/IDontWorkHereLady. In this episode, there are two new great stories waiting for us, and the first of them, did you look at his neck? Ma'am? Well, I finally had an IDWHL experience worth posting here, so y'all have fun with this. I wandered into my local big box bookstore to find some mind-numbing fiction after visiting a young couple from my church at the local hospital where they received some particularly difficult news. That's one of the most emotionally draining parts of life as the pastor of a small church. Mix the fact that I'm an introvert into that situation, and I think you can understand why I wanted an hour or two just to drink some coffee and try to switch off my brain for a little bit. When I was done drinking the overpriced coffee, I decided to wander the aisles for a bit, hoping to find a good paperback to take with me on vacation in a couple weeks. Since I spend way too much time in the bookstore, I know where everything is and seem to ooze some sort of employee vibe. Enter mistaken customer number 1. MC1. Excuse me, sir. Can you tell me if you have a copy of... Insert book title? Me. Sure, it's on the row of shelves behind you at the far end. I went through the same process with 2 other people before I found a couple of options that looked good for mindless vacation reading, and I started skimming them. As my wife will attest, once I start reading, you could set off a bomb right next to me and I wouldn't notice. Thus, I completely missed the fact there was an increasingly frustrated, Hensworth FW, who was apparently trying to get my attention. What finally broke through the fog, you ask? It was hearing a piercing cry of, "Excuse me, you are so rude!" I'm sorry, what? I've been standing here for completely unbelievable amount of time, and you won't help me. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't work here. If you go to the desk... Yes, you do! I saw you help that older lady not 10 minutes ago! Yes, ma'am, I understand. I shop here entirely too much, so I know where everything is, but I don't actually work here. Fine! Go get your manager! In her defense, the emotional exhaustion coupled with the hysteria of telling a man who's a pastor to go get your manager made me start laughing. Something she clearly didn't appreciate. After another 30 seconds or so of being on the receiving end of her tirade, she stormed off. I just shrugged, took the book I was reading and another one I'd chosen and headed to the front. Lo and behold, who's standing at the checkout counter but my new friend, the irate customer, which immediately makes me start chuckling again. I walked to the other register and handed over my selections when she finally spotted me and started yelling at the manager that he's the one who laughed at me and wouldn't help me. The manager looked at me, then looked at her, then looked back at me. Finally, turned to the woman in question and said, "Did you look at his neck, ma'am?" She looked completely confused, so she turned and looked, and that's when she finally noticed the bright blue shirt with the brilliant white clerical collar. As for me, I laughed the rest of the way to the car. I was expecting you to fold your hands together and say, "Dear Heavenly Father," and then tell her that your manager was listening. But it's time for us to move on to our next story. My dress shirt got me fired and almost kicked out of a college club fundraising banquet. This story takes place at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor during the 2015-2016 winter season. My childhood best friend invited my girlfriend and I to come visit him in college for a weekend. He moved into an apartment dorm by North Campus at the beginning of that school year. Courtyard for those familiar. His apartment had some space in the living room, which made it easy for people to come visit and stay overnight. The trip itself was amazing. We caught up on a lot of lost time, toured the school, downright beautiful, by the way. Sorry, not sorry, Michigan State. Went out to a couple of places on Liberty Street, got wasted at a couple house parties. My girlfriend had a blast, and we even bought some Michigan hoodies as souvenirs in the Den store. I only wish I'd tried harder in high school so I could have gone there for engineering. But I digress. The main reason why we came to visit was to attend a fundraising dinner for the Michigan Polish Student Association. My friend and I are Polish. We're both part of Polish student clubs at our schools, and we would march together during the Chicago Polish Independence Day Parade every year. This particular year, his club reserved a room at the Palmer Commons. It looked like any typical banquet hall filled with tables, a couple of projector screens, and a DJ booth with a big dance floor in the middle. The dress code for the event was formal. dress shirt, pants, shoes, belts, and ties. I decided to wear a black shirt with thin white vertical stripes, black pants, and a black belt. Didn't care for a tie. People sat down. The club leaders welcomed everyone, talked about the club, school involvement, thanked and honored key contributors, presented the charity they were fundraising for, blah, 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 and then everybody clapped. Throughout the event, servers brought out meals and water to the tables for guests to enjoy while they were pretending to pay attention. At some point, my girlfriend noticed that all the servers just so happened to be wearing black dress shirts with thin white vertical stripes, black pants, and wait for it, black belts. You can probably guess where this is going. She got my attention, pointed out the matching outfits between me and the staff, and we laughed it off as some funny coincidence. Someone at our table even made a joke that I should get back to work and take their dirty plates back to the kitchen. We left it at that and didn't think much else of it. For context, there were maybe 20 to 30 staff members working the room. This is a big event, maybe 200 plus guests. Most staff were students themselves working part-time to fund their college shenanigans. Apart from the 10 to 15 servers that had assigned tables to serve food to, the majority of the staff collectively handled water jugs, bussed tables, and cleaned wherever needed cleaned. I doubt they paid enough attention to know everyone working that night, and given the extremely unlikely odds that I was wearing the exact same outfit as them, made it very easy for staff to assume I was one of them. Also, FYI, the school club handled the check-in process and seating assignments for the event. The service cleaning was handled by the school's facilities department or whatever. Bottom line, there was an apparent disconnect between the club and staff on knowing who was and who wasn't a guest. No one wore name tags, wristbands, etc. Anyway, turns out some of the servers saw me sitting at a table, assumed I was part of the crew, and thought I decided to stop working to enjoy the event. It got to the point where servers would give me weird looks as they laid the plates down at our table, but they didn't confront me or say anything since it wasn't their place to do so. Oh, but they definitely made sure to point it out to the managers, multiple times, by multiple staff members. At some point between the main course and dessert, while another speech was being given out in the background, someone came up from behind me and placed a hand on my shoulder. Before I had a chance to turn around and react, a male voice said, "I need you to get up and step outside into the hallway with me right now." His hand slid down to my arm and got a decent grip, and I decided to get up and go along with it. I wasn't too surprised this was happening, given the circumstances explained above. We've been treating this as kind of a coincidental joke the whole time, so I thought it'd be kind of funny that I got attention of the manager. I'm 6'2", and he was maybe 5'7" with a slim build, so it looked like I had a 40 to 50 pound weight advantage on him, so I didn't feel uncomfortable with the way he was trying to handle the situation. To him, I probably looked like some tall, fit college bro that screws around all the time. I figured at most I would need to explain that I'm not a staff member, show my ticket for the event that was in my jacket pocket hanging on the chair, and sit back down and we'd all have a laugh about it. No harm, no foul, right? Nope. He pointed me to the nearest door and led me all the way out into the hallway. I figured I should just wait until we were in the hallway to calmly explain the situation and not cause a scene in front of the other guests. I didn't grab my ticket or my jacket in time, but whatever, I'm sure he'll give me a chance to show it to him while we talk. My friend and my girlfriend thought this was freaking hilarious and assumed I'd be back in a minute. We make our way to the empty hallway, and the manager shuts the doors behind us. All doors had to be closed during the event to keep the noise inside. I asked him to let go of my arm, and he does. Again, before I had a chance to say anything, and without skipping a beat, he starts blaring, "I don't know who the hell you think you are, and I don't know what crossed your mind to think that on your first shift, you can decide to take a break and engage with the guests. Sir, please let me. I don't give a crap what your stupid excuse is. It's common sense that staff don't sit down with the guests and engage with them. I don't care if this is some part-time job to you while you're studying. I can replace you with 5 more students tomorrow. You show nothing but laziness, disrespect." Now, during this rant, I noticed a campus security officer turn a corner and walk towards us. Oh, you gotta be effing kidding me. The manager kept going on his rant, again, not letting me speak for myself. When the officer was standing next to us, he gives his big punchline. "Nope, you're done. Fired. I don't want you in this building. I'm going to put a word in with the school and have you barred from working another campus job. You're going to end up explaining to your family why you couldn't last a single shift. Big oof. The officer takes his cue and starts to escort me to the nearest exit. The manager watches us until we turn the corner and goes back inside. I began explaining the situation to the cop from start to finish. At first, he didn't want to believe me and thought I was trying to con my way out of trouble. Eventually, he let me return to the room to grab my ticket along with my driver's license to match the names on both to prove that I was just a guest. Some more talking, and after my friend and girlfriend vouched for me, the officer let me be and went off to talk to the manager. I assured the cop that I didn't feel the need to press charges, and we sat back down. Everything else went by normally. We decided to go out and have a drink once the formal speeches and food service was over. We came back again the following year for another weekend of fun with another banquet night. I made sure to bring a shirt no service worker would wear. Thankfully, the next banquet was in a different building on campus. I don't know what, if anything, happened to the manager. Probably nothing. I didn't care about pressing charges or making a scene. I just like being able to tell this interesting story. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.